What's going on, CDL fans? We're back with the power rankings after Major 1. Now, I do want to preface real quick. I did not do rankings last week, so some of these rankings might seem very shifted. If I switch over to the rankings I did 2 weeks ago, this is kind of what my starting point. Overall, every single team moved this week, so this is super exciting to talk about. Major 1 was an absolute banger, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. And remember, if you want to see more CDL content, consider subbing to the channel. And we also go over our power rankings on the podcast episode, which should be out. It's on my live tab right now, and the edited version will be out soon. But as you see here, starting off with the stuff down here, I mean, Ultra are that team. Rocker made a nice run at the Major. New York and Miami fell short, and Roster Mania is coming, as well as my Roster Mania predictions video. So let's start at the bottom. None other than LA Thieves are down 1 spot into 12. I mean, LA Tier, without a doubt, the worst team in the game. 1 hard point win this entire season. This is a team that absolutely should be making changes, and I'm hoping makes changes coming into the Major 2 split. Then just above them, I have the Las Vegas Legion. Now, Legion, honestly, maybe you could make a case for them being up a little bit higher. They did win a series on land, so shout out to them. It was a sweep over the Miami Heretics, which is a pretty good win. But this team has been reverse swept 3 times this season, which is just absolutely insane considering they've only played probably like 8 or probably like 9 series so far. They've been swept in 33% of the time, 1/3 of the time. So I do have Legion down 1 into 11, but I do believe Legion are really just 1 piece away from being a team that can compete for top 6. Then we come up to number 10, which is the Boston Breach, down 2 spots. Boston had a disappointing Major for me. I really hoped that the home crowd buff was going to help them out, let them push forward. But of course, they went out top 12. It was definitely disappointing for me. This is a team that I think on paper looks like they could be good. They've showed a lot of promise. I mean, they're the only team to beat Toronto Ultra this entire season. And Boston is just a team where I really, really think they should be better. But unfortunately, they have to be at 10. Then coming in at number 9, I do have the Royal Ravens up 2 spots. The Ravens, obviously, are not a great team, but they showed a lot on land. Fellow, Tej both looked good on land. Fellow especially looked absolutely amazing on land, in my opinion. Clay and Gwyn also did their thing. The way I'm looking at this and the way we talked about it on the podcast was if you pretend like the God Rex Ravens team didn't exist, his Ravens team actually looks decent. You know what I mean? So I would say I have them up 2 spots from the last one I did of these 2 weeks ago. So I definitely think top 10 is deserved for Ravens without a doubt. Then coming in at number 8, I do have the Seattle Surge down 3 spots. Now, it seems kind of crazy because they obviously, made a little bit of a run at the Major to be down 3 spots. Like I said, I did not do power rankings last week. So this is down 3 spots from 2 weeks ago. If we did this last week, it probably would not be this bad. It'd probably be down like 1 spot, honestly. But Seattle Surge, honestly, they broke a lot of GAs, which definitely hurts my opinion of them. They still played good. They're really good at search and destroy. Their respawn is passable, obviously, because they're able to win a respawn here and there to take their series. But at the very least, I mean, the teams they beat at the Major wasn't anything super, super crazy. And I think top 8 is still fair for Seattle. But I do think if you wanted, you could switch them with the team that I have above them, which is the Miami Heretics, down a spot. Miami probably would have fallen even further because if I did this last week, they would have been higher because they came into the Major with a 6-0 map count in that last weekend. So Miami as a whole definitely had a super disappointing weekend and definitely is one you could swap with Seattle here, and I would not, I wouldn't argue with you. Then we come into number 6, and I do have the LA Gorillas up. My gosh, things are just not aligned on this page, even though I thought I aligned them before we started. Next up, I do have the LA Gorillas, though. I think the Gorillas showed a lot of fight at the Major. They won some matches. They showed some resilience by reverse sweeping the Legion. And overall, this Gorillas team is in an interesting spot for me because I don't know if they necessarily have what it takes to be like a top 4 type team. But I also don't think they necessarily need to make a roster change. So I think this Gorillas team looks solid. They show potential. Fame does his thing in search and destroy. Estrel's been a solid rookie. Diamond Con's been great all year long. Assault has his hand warmers, of course. And this team, I think, is deserving of top 6. Then at number 5, I do have the New York Subliners down a few spots. Listen, the Subliners were a top 3 team coming into the Major, in my opinion. They go out top 12. You could argue them being lower. You could even argue them maybe being 1 spot higher. I think they could kind of fit anywhere between 4 and 7, sort of, in my mind, if we were doing it in tier style. But for me, the Subliners obviously still have talent. We know how good they can be. I think this team, I don't want to overreact to them because of just how good they were last year. And obviously bringing in Sib is also a very good player. But I have to have the Minnesota Rocker, who are up 5 spots, by the way, from 2 weeks ago. It wouldn't be this drastic of a jump if I did the rankings last week, but whatever, it is what it is. Rocker up over them. Honestly, one of the sole reasons I have Rocker over them is they 3-0'd subliners on LAN at this past major, so I have to put Rocker over them. They're probably in a similar tier as of right now if this was a tier list, like I said. But this is not a tier list. I like to do this number style and give definitive rankings. So I do have Rocker up a ton over subliners into the top 4 like they were at the major. And honestly, the top 3 I don't think is much of a surprise. It's Optic, it's FaZe, and it's Ultra. FaZe finally being dethroned from that number 1 spot. Optic back into the top 3, and Ultra definitively at number 1. If this was a tier list, Ultra would be in their own tier without a doubt. The Ultra team, to speak on them first, they're the best team in every single game mode. It's not much of a surprise if you watch the major. They are on a 12 hardpoint win streak. They didn't drop a search and destroy at the major, and they only lost 2 controls, both to Atlanta FaZe, I believe it was. So this Ultra team, I think they dropped 8 maps all year. They just look so much better than everybody else at this current point. FaZe obviously looks good. They look better than Optic. I mean, they're 3-0 against them this season in the last 2 weeks. I think they had like a 9-3 map count so far in the 3 times they've played. FaZe are definitely in a league of their own above Optic as well. And then Optic, I think, has a league of their own above Rocker in 3rd place. Overall, I mean, I think these power rankings honestly are solid. The 5 through 8 range can be very mixed up, even maybe the 4 through 8 range. And then the bottom 3, bottom 4, I think you could also mix up. It's hard to pick definitive rankings that everyone's going to agree with, right? Obviously, not everyone is going to agree with what I have on screen right now, but let me know what you disagree with most in the comments. I'd love to hear it. We did our rankings live on the podcast, which you can watch, but we had some people agree, some people disagree with kind of what we decided on. But I think overall, this is solid for sort of my opinions after Major 1. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to sub to the channel. I pump out CDL content every single week, multiple times a week. So definitely consider subbing and dropping a like if you enjoyed. And with all that being said, hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.